Well, hello all, and welcome to Secure and Accelerate Multi-Cloud Success with F5, Google Cloud, and Intel. Today's exciting webinar is sponsored by F5, Intel, and Google Cloud, and produced by Actual Tech Media. Now, my name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I am so happy to be your moderator for this conversation because we have a whole crew of awesome expert presenters here with us who want to engage in an interactive conversation with all of you. Now, if you've been a part of an F5 chat with us before, you already know how this is going to go. We're going to put the slides away, we're going to set aside the presentation deck, and we're just going to talk. Now, together with this crew of incredible experts, we will dive into some of the things that may already be on your mind and some of the things that you didn't know you needed to know. We'll explore those best practices, the tips and solutions for building, maintaining, securing, and best of all, optimizing and accelerating success in your multi-cloud environment. We'll take some questions at the end as well, and the crew is going to be answering questions throughout their discussion on live chat as well. So get ready, get excited, get curious, get those questions in, join in the conversation, and let's get rolling on our day here. All right. So before we dive in and get started on our content, I want to first draw your attention on over to the questions section of your webinar console. Now, we were just talking about getting involved and getting interactive, and this is where that happens. So post all of those insightful questions, your comments, your feedback, your ideas. We want to see that all. In fact, we can give that a little bit of a test run right now. Make sure you're all alive and with us and enthusiastically ready for the day. So go ahead and post a hi, a hello, give a wave to the community out there, and hit send on that right now. Make sure that questions window is working for you. And then you'll be using that throughout the day to connect with our speakers. Now, I do want to give you a quick side note here. That window, that questions tab there is also the best place to reach out to our team and let the Actual Tech Media team know if there are any technical issues during the session. Knock on wood, of course. Now, big reminder though, a browser refresh is going to get rid of any of the usual tech gremlins. So a little bit of audio, a little bit of slide trouble, something like that. Don't worry, try a browser refresh, see if that works. If that doesn't work, shoot us a message in that questions window and we will be there to help you out. All right, the last thing I want to point out on your audience console is the handouts tab. Go check out some of the cool resources and follow-ups to our conversation here today. Lots of great information. Be sure you go and spend some time exploring. All right, now it is not just awesome content we are giving away today. We also have a $250 Best Buy gift card as a prize drawing at the end of our webinar. You do need to be in attendance live at the webinar in order to win, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're not sure what those are, head on back over to that handouts tab and you can find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. All right, now not only does asking a question today help guide our speakers, bring up the energy of this entire webinar, it is also a great chance to win a prize. Now today we are offering a $50 Best Buy gift card to the best question asked. We will review all the questions that are asked after we wrap up today. So even if we do not get a chance to answer your question live during our discussion with the speakers today, there is still a chance to win that prize. So get those questions in. All right, my friends. Well, I think that's enough of a tour and it is time to jump in. So let me introduce our incredible speakers and then we will get them on out here with us to start chatting. So today we will be connecting with Matthew Emes, Senior Solutions Architect at F5, Cyrus Rafii, Senior Business Development Manager, also at F5, Joshua Hazlitt, Strategic Technology Partner Manager, Google Cloud, and Cassia Henson, Global Senior Director of Physical and Cybersecurity Ecosystems at Intel. What a crew we have with us. I told you it was going to be a great day. I can't wait to get in this conversation. Let me just get everyone out on camera and we will get things rolling. All right, well, team, welcome back. So glad to have all of you here with us again. I love when we get to have these conversations. I love when we put the slides down and just sit around and chit chat with old friends, and that's certainly the feel and the vibe that we have whenever we get to have these discussions. So thank you all for joining us again. And I know that we've done a few of these chats before, but for somebody that hasn't joined us in the past, I'd love to start with just sort of a quick round of introductions, and maybe we can kick things off with Matt and just give us an idea of who you are and what you're here to talk to us about today.
Thanks, Jess. Hi, my name's Matt Emes. I'm a senior global solutions architect at F5, and I'm 100% focused on the GCP relationship and providing value to customers.
I'm Joshua Hazlett. I'm the Strategic Technology Partnership Manager for the relationship with F5 here from Google Cloud. And excited today to talk with everybody that's joining us about what customers are experiencing when they're moving to Google Cloud and how we can optimize those experiences with this joint partnership with Intel and F5.
Hello, everyone.
Go ahead. We're all going around the horn here. Go ahead, Cyrus. I'll go last.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cyrus Rafii. I'm the Senior Strategic Business Development Manager for F5. I manage our over 25-year relationship with Intel. For those of you who may not be familiar with F5, all of our solutions from our hardware to all of our software are optimized and designed to run on Intel, and especially in GCP.
Awesome. Cassia Hansen. I'm with Intel, and I am responsible for our global security ecosystem partnerships and strategies. So working with F5, working with partners like GCP. So very excited to be here today.
Awesome. I love that. Everyone's ready to go. You guys are chomping at the bit. That's great. That's exactly what we want from a room full of expert speakers as you guys are bringing the passion today. And I think we're going to jump right into it. And Josh, I want to actually start this one out on your end. So I'm curious, why are enterprises choosing to move business critical workloads to Google Cloud? What's the motivation there?
Good question, Jess. And I think probably the reason most of our listeners are here today is to find out, some of those answers. So, what we find, many of the key reasons customers are choosing Google Cloud. First of all, our planet scale network. Many people don't know, but it carries nearly a third of the world's internet traffic. So, massive scale. Kubernetes, which was born here, and of course, from the way that customers can leverage it in Google Cloud, in hybrid cloud. Containers really have made it so much more easy to scale applications and make them portable. So that's another key reason. Analytics with BigQuery. We have the largest and fastest ability to put your data lake here on Google Cloud and then query that information rapidly, which makes very high performant applications. And then of course we have a rich heritage of artificial intelligence and machine learning, which we build natively into a lot of our applications. Those applications are global. Many of you have probably heard of them before. Things like YouTube, search, Maps, Gmail, Workspace. These all scale for billions of users. And we've taken that same infrastructure and we've made it available to our customers so they can deploy their applications to get the same kind of performance and scale that we do. A couple of examples there. Spotify uses Google Cloud to power its music streaming service, which has over 180 million active users worldwide. And they listen to billions of plays per day. So you can imagine the demand that has on infrastructure. And of course, the ability to scale rapidly for that is really important. Shopify uses Google Cloud to power its e-commerce platform. And it has over 1.7 million merchants worldwide that run on the platform. So our platform's secure by design, and we work with the leading security ISVs like F5 to ensure that our customers can deploy their applications securely and leverage the power of Google Cloud with tight integrations from ISV partners.
Boy, I'm spinning out a little bit on billions of songs playing for day. I hadn't actually thought about a quantified number behind that. Sometimes, as big as that number is, does that make the world feel a little small too? That we're all just listening to music every day. We're all just loving the Google Cloud, Google Play. Well, okay. I want to keep going with that. And Matt, I'm going to actually tag you in on this question here because I'd like to explore a little bit when we're talking about multi-cloud. And of course, top of mind for everybody right now is security. And this is a huge point of discussion and something to consider strategically as well. So what multi-cloud security challenges are going to escalate as we're moving more of these workloads into a cloud environment?
Yes, well, one of the most common challenges I think we talk about is that bad actors are getting more and more sophisticated. And it can feel like you're playing whack-a-mole almost to try and keep ahead of them as they continually retool and retarget their attacks onto your applications. As a result, your security approach needs to be continually monitored and agile, ready to adapt to these new threats. The other challenge that we hear about from customers is around the complexity of the multi-cloud landscape. So often you'll have what we call legacy apps, right? These are applications that weren't born in the cloud, maybe are still running in VMs. And then you'll have the modern applications that are typically running as containers or microservices on GKE, say. And most organizations actually have a combination of these two that they need to manage and protect. These applications could live on-prem or in a colo, they could be in a public cloud or at the edge. And having visibility and consistent policy management is super complicated. We believe that this is the future. At F5, we believe that this multi-cloud, this hybrid world is now and the future, and our own state of the application research supports this. It shows that 85% of organizations are operating in multiple environments at any given time. And of that, 44% of organizations have deployments in at least 4 different environments.
Wow. On a very serious and important note here, is whack-a-mole still a thing? Because I love that metaphor, and I immediately knew what you meant. And then I thought, are younger generations going to know what whack-a-mole is? Does that still exist?
They call it something else.
I'm sure there's an app for whack-a-mole now.
Or they shorten it. They call it whack or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Just like an outfit, they call it fit, right? So hopefully this resonates with the younger audience.
The youths, yeah. I asked a young person I knew a while back to explain young person slang to me once, and after about 5 minutes, I was like, I give up. I can't. I don't know what that is. Yeah. All right.
Well, I wanted to add what Matt said.
Yeah.
I think security is super important. So you'll hear throughout this conversation, we weaved in security, right? Both Google, Intel, F5, we all take it very seriously. And I think as we look at the I'm kind of going to make this up right now, but it really is what I'm seeing and speak a lot on is AI and cybersecurity. And it's kind of this convergence that's happening between the two, right? AI is driving a lot of new usages, workloads, compute, infrastructure, there's software. And then, of course, you're having to keep up with that and you have to secure it, right? You have to secure that AI. And so, your hardware becomes your your starting point with security, right? Mm-hmm. Making those decisions around, okay, I'm starting at the point of hardware because the attacks are going lower in the stack. And so you want to kind of surround yourself with partners who take security seriously and who know and understand what needs to happen in your environment. So I think it's really important to remember, and kind of a takeaway if you're making notes, a takeaway on there is, really understanding your partner's security posture. And everyone on here certainly has that, and we understand security and the importance of it. And oftentimes it's built in as well, and leveraging the integrated security technologies from Intel, for example. Things like SGX in our 4th Gen Xeon, some of those additional threat detection and things like that we're building in. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I do think both security and AI are it's hard to have a conversation without those coming up these days.
Absolutely.
And certainly we will continue to dig into them as we go.
Yeah.
Matt, I'm going to send things back over to you because you did such a great job with that last one. Your reward is more questions. So I want to talk to you about F5 and Google Cloud a little bit more. And I'm curious how F5 complements Google Cloud solutions, especially for an organization that's thinking about volume and in-depth defenses. And, wondering if you can maybe spend a little bit of time recommending for folks in the audience how F5 and Google Cloud how that partnership can really form the right solution, the right, wine and cheese pairing for them, for their charcuterie board.
Well, that's a perfect example. That's great. Yeah. So, at F5, we certainly believe in the power of and. And as a result of that, we believe that the combination of Google Cloud and F5 provides the optimal solution for most customers. As an example, you're asking for specifics. We think that Google's front end and its cloud armor and load balancing capabilities, they will combine to give you a broad level of protection that most customers just absolutely need. We heard Josh talking about the capabilities being used by those organizations with billions and billions of use cases. Maybe yours isn't quite there, but we can build on that same technology, right? And then what you do is you pair that with F5 specific technologies that focus in on the more complex layer 4 through 7 attacks, right? So our WAP will give you the ability to block those attacks that do make it past, let's say, the bulk defenses provided by Google Cloud. And we provide those in a various form factors. We can give you the solution that fits for GKE, for VMs, IaaS, PaaS, whatever it may be, with a set of consistency and a set of policies that will be optimized for everything that you're doing. So what we like to think is that F5 and Google, we both take advantage of ML and AI capabilities, and that helps us provide pattern recognition and mitigate many kinds of automated attacks. But at F5, we also have managed services. We can put a team of professionals on your case that will augment the AI and ML capabilities by looking for those vectors that maybe aren't immediate from an analytical point of view.
Well, and on that note, I'd like to keep going with this, and I'll extend my metaphor. Josh, I'd like you to also be a sommelier and help us choose our next wine and cheese pairing, and talk to us a little bit more about the popular Google Cloud security services, because Cassia mentioned that earlier, and as we said, security top of mind. So what should businesses be looking on security-wise when we're looking for, again, that sort of broad volume defense setup, and what would you recommend?
The deep, full-bodied red is what we're looking for, I guess.
Perfect. Abstract security.
All right. So, good question. Thanks, Jess. I think one of the more popular solutions is something that Matt talked about there right up front, right, which is Cloud Armor. I think when we think about broad volume defenses, it's one of the key areas where customers lean on and leverage. Primarily, what it does is provides for defense against distributed denial of service attacks. Cloud Armor, I mentioned Shopify before. They actually had a record-breaking denial of service attack, which was 2.47 terabytes per second. Attack was mitigated within minutes, thank goodness, right? And customers were able to continue shopping without interruption. Another one more recently, one of our Cloud Armor customers had an attack with 47 million requests per second. There were over 5,256 IP addresses, source IPs, and the attacks were coming from 132 countries simultaneously. Just to give you a sense of the scale of the attack, that's like receiving all the daily requests to Wikipedia, right? One of the top 10 traffic websites in the world in just 10 seconds. So, massive scale and scope. But the beauty of that is on the front end, we can handle the scale and scope of those large attacks. And then, to Matt's point, F5 then augments that with more granularity on the back end. So it's a really good partnership in that sense. Another area is a service that's growing in popularity, which is Apogee for API management and security. Of course, APIs are growing in usage and popularity, and they're widely adopted across developers. So, for those that don't know a lot about where APIs sit, they're kind of behind the curtain, but it's how valuable software and data in one system talks to another system. They're really the building blocks of digital economies at this point. And we're seeing increased usage because of cloud computing, rise of microservices architectures, and the need for businesses to be more agile and responsive to their customer needs. And so we're seeing, 90% of developers use APIs today, which are both for internal use and external usage. And then Salt Security also had a report recently that stated that 91% of organizations have had an incident related to API security. So you need to keep an eye on what you've got with your APIs in your environment and then what you're using. And that's really where it comes together for Apogee from a management perspective. So you have visibility into those APIs. You can catalog them and make sure that you've got them secured. And then using F5, we're finding application across finance, healthcare, and others where there's a really good partnership to where we bring together Apogee for management and F5 for API security.
Hmm. I'd like to zoom in a little bit on some of the more specific multi-cloud security challenges that F5 is helping solve. And Matt, I'm wondering if I can start this out with you. Although Cyrus, I think you may actually have something to add on as well, and I'd like to hear from that Intel partnership. But as we're exploring this, some of these challenges: consistent policy management, centralized visibility and control. When we're looking at mirroring F5 on-prem, success in the cloud, all these things that are top of mind when we're thinking about multi-cloud security challenges. Can you give us a little bit of insight in how F5 can help with that, Matt? Please help us.
Oh, for sure. This is one of our superpowers at F5.
Excellent.
We secure, we deliver, and we optimize every app and API anywhere. That's one of our taglines right now. So, one of our solutions, for example, is something we call multi-cloud networking, which is part of our distributed cloud offering. This provides, a single console to manage and observe your environments, no matter where they are. They could be in Google Cloud, they could be on-prem, colo, maybe a different cloud, but we can bring all of that information and visibility into one console. This allows our customers to create, consistent policies and push them wherever they are deploying their applications. F5, we've been doing this for over 25 years, and we know how to protect your most mission critical applications. And we can bring a consistency and a high level of protection to your applications, just like you've gotten used to us from us over the years.
Fantastic.
Great. Well, I'd like to add, if I may, Matt, thank you
Please.
very much. One of the things you mentioned is having the same security posture across all of your distributed infrastructure, especially 85% of folks use multi-cloud architectures. And so you not only want to have the same security posture, but you also want to have the same expectation of performance. You want to have your application perform the same in GCP as it might be on an on-prem data center or some other private cloud or public cloud somewhere. And that is where our over 25-year partnership with Intel comes in, because Intel runs majority of those platforms. Let's be honest. And so because of that, we are optimized and take advantage of the latest optimizations that Intel is offering, almost a new one every day. It's hard for me to keep up. And so we run on those through all of our portfolio, including our distributed cloud, our F5 Big IP, both hardware and software, as well as our Nginx product line.
And I think that goes back, Jess, to what you said, by the way. So, when Josh was talking about Spotify, for example, or Google Music and so forth, and all these different applications, right, that are just streaming so much information, you do want that secure digital experience, right? And that's why you want to work with an F5 and a Google Cloud, right? You want that. You want this. We know that the world is a bit of a hybrid place, right? Where there's so many different choices on what you do and where you do it. And so that's why you work with companies like F5 and Google, because that way you can make the right decisions for your environment and how to deliver those secure digital experiences, which is so important. Think about all these outages that companies go through, and just knowing and kind of putting your investment where you're going to be protected is the smart route to go.
Cassie, I'm so glad you said that, and I'm gonna ask you to paint us a word cloud, to paint us a picture of the world as it looks when F5, Google Cloud, and Intel solutions are all working together for that unified business outcome. What do we look like in that world? Who are we in that world?
We're magicians. we we are.
Excellent.
It's like magic, right? So you take best of breed software, you take best of breed infrastructure, you take best of breed processors, and you wrap security all around that, and you get kind of this magic, right? That's where the magic happens. I often say that to people, like where the magic happens with AI, right, is when a sensor takes the information and then it processes and then analyzes it. But the same thing here, right? When you piece together the right components, you get this magical experience. And that's why I'm often saying the ecosystem who you work with matters. And having those questions around what are your AI strategies? How are you supporting these workloads? How are you securing the workloads? What's my role in that? What's your role in that? Right? Being very, very clear with those questions. I know you'll get that with Google Cloud and F5. So I think those are important, right, for anybody that's kind of looking at how do I build this strategy, whether it's moving entirely to GCP or it's, kind of you have different environments. I think that's just so important. And so you need to be able to rely on your ecosystem and know that they're gonna have your back, but also what is your responsibility in all of this. And that's a really important thing to remember, is that, if it's your data, you're responsible for it. And so Google can help you, right? They absolutely have the resources, the savvy, everything from a security perspective, but you need to, be very clear about what is my data and what is the risk to this data, and how to properly protect that. And so that's why, we talk about security pretty much all the time, right? And I think you add in AI to that, by the way, which is, often AI security are just going hand in hand, and it has to, because it's truly evolving on a daily basis. I like to say I'm a daily learner with AI, right? I mean, there's something new to learn every single day, and I truly believe that the computing environment is keeping up. Right. I mean, it really is the computing and security environment and all the tools that go along with it, to create good performance, security, productivity, efficiency. We're in this world of we want it all and we want it now. Like Violet said from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
I want it all and I want it now, right? So, we do, and there's capabilities that can help there. So, that's what it looks like, and I think trying to think of an analogy from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, though, but I can't right now. It might not work out. Chocolate for everyone.
Yeah,
Wine and
that's
chocolate.
it. That's who needs an analogy? Free chocolate for everyone.
I'm
No,
going to your sommelier point, so. But I think
that's
to Cyrus's point,
yeah.
Intel and F5 have been, we've been in a really strong relationship for over 20 years, and that optimization for power and performance and the collaboration that's so seamless and open, and then you kind of pair that with Google, right? The relationship between Intel and Google has been longstanding, and there's this co-innovation partnership that is happening, because we realize that we need to continue to evolve, elaborate, grow, and democratize AI, and we need to build new capabilities for that. So of course, we work with partners like F5, and you bring it all together, and again, that's where the magic comes into play. So it's just this evolving landscape, right? We're always, I feel like I'm riding a bike every day. So
Hey, Cassie, if I may add real quickly to
yeah,
that, we're talking about AI, which is the buzzword,
yeah.
and the co-innovation partnership. We work very closely with Intel and GCP to use our solutions together to help protect your large language models, your inference models,
Mm-hmm.
all of your AI componentry, with some of the same things you use for your other applications: DDoS protection, WAP protection, API protection. It's huge. We
Mm-hmm.
all together we have systems that work to save at world class capabilities that scale and work very, very fast, and so that you can have the best outcome and expectation of performance
Yeah,
regardless of where your load lives.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Well, I like this. This is convincing me to be a lifelong learner and to drink a lot of robust red wine is what I'm taking away from our
And
chat
have
today.
chocolate. And have
and have
chocolate.
and have chocolate and play some whack-a-mole. We've covered a lot, guys. Uh, and and I think, I'd like to, if you guys are okay with it, I'd like to sort of transfer a little bit of our conversation from us discussing and invite the audience to be a part of it as well. So if we're ready to pause and maybe take some audience questions.
Sure.
You bet.
Awesome. Okay. Because I know they're all chomping at the bit to get involved, and they have lots of thoughts on chocolate and wine as well. But we'll focus right now on a few of these more related questions, and then we'll have a whole other webinar on the other things. I would like to have a wine-based webinar. I'm into that. All right. Let's start with this one here. As we begin to move some of our apps to GCP with an increased focus on improved security and performance, good for you. What changes should we expect and prepare for, and especially when we're thinking tooling, development processes, and testing activities? Josh, I think we'll start that one out with you.
Oh, of course, hit the cloud guy up. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Well, that's a broad question. I'm glad you've asked it. Let's start at the beginning. So I think one of the most important first steps is to adopt cloud native process, right? Which means you need to get into a continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline so that you can automate the building, testing, and deployment of your apps on cloud. If you do this, thinking about your security landscape, it helps you catch and fix security vulnerabilities early in your development process. You may hear the term shift left being used, quite frequently. It also helps you test your apps thoroughly before you deploy them. So not only do you catch, code issues and security vulnerabilities, but it makes sure that you've got your production capability ready to go. And then the third is it helps you deploy your apps more quickly and reliably. So I would say that's the starting point, right? Then once you deploy your apps, you need to make sure that your development processes are aligned with the best security process and practice. And so learning how to effectively use Google Cloud's identity and access management service to manage access to your GCP resources is really critical. And we actually find this is where customers in the past have started off down the wrong path and had to retool. So it's important to start there, understand what you're getting into, and then make sure you deploy that properly. And then you asked about tools. So I think from a tooling perspective, adopting a cloud native tooling chain, such as Kubernetes and Terraform and Cloud SDK, would be a really good best practice. Secondarily, using container security scanner of some sort to scan your containers for vulnerabilities before you deploy them. So making sure that your code repositories are clean, and then as your applications get deployed, those are the way they need to be. Using Cloud Armor, right? We mentioned that earlier. Use that as the ability to simulate DDoS attacks against your apps. Make sure you've got the right policies in place, and then use cloud load testing to make sure that you can test your apps. How they would be deployed globally, where you anticipate the traffic's going to come from, and how those apps will perform on the cloud. I think if you follow those steps, that gets you moving in the right direction.
I think that's really important, and a strong emphasis on testing, reiterating, and going through that cycle, I think, is always really important. All right, let's keep rolling here as we have, and actually this will tie in. Josh, you were giving us some insight with the containers, and you mentioned Kubernetes. So we got a question that I think it will fit in well here. And Matt, I'm going to send this over to you. We have applications we are developing on Google Kubernetes Engine. So how does F5 integrate with GKE?
Right. So this one's near and dear to my heart. GKE was my gateway to GCP a few years ago. So yeah, I love answering questions about GKE. And in short, we have a few options here when it comes to GKE, such as Nginx Ingress Controller or App Connect from our F5 distributed cloud offering. What those do is they can bring the full WAP protection stack into your cluster and still integrate with your existing or to-be workflows. We heard Joshua talk just a second ago about tooling. All of these options can be integrated with Terraform, with Cloud SDK, with Flux, or any of those other ways of getting changes into GKE. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble a little bit there because it's an exciting subject for me. But what I will say is, if customers choose, let's say, our Nginx Ingress Controller with App Protect product, what they're getting is something that runs just like the Ingress controllers they're familiar with and comfortable with. But on top of that, they get the WAP protection that we're bringing in from our 25 years of experience. In addition, we have that App Connect, like I said, that offers a slightly different way of deploying it. We can allow customers to use a SaaS model for defining their policies and updating their policies, which then gets pushed down into their cluster to do the actual protection, as a pod and service running within their environment. Either way, we can make it easy for them to continue to use GKE just the way they expect to, but bring in real protections that work in complement to the Cloud Armor, let's say.
That's perfect. That's that magic that Cassia was talking about. That's important.
I love it. He said it so well, and I love how excited he is about it.
I'm ready now.
I want to call him and talk to you guys. He just got so excited. That's awesome.
Yes, I love that, Matt. Please, yes, keep bringing the nerdy excitement. That's what we want. Well, okay, Josh, I feel like I'm being really mean to you because I'm kicking you all the really long questions. I have another long one. You're going to want to get your pen and paper out as we go through this. Sometimes we get questions from people that are just like, talk about cloud. And then sometimes we get like full novels. So this is the novel side of things, and I dig it. Okay, some of our apps are data intensive. Yep, that checks out. Do you have any best practices and tools that you can recommend that we can use to baseline our current app implementation performance so that we could then compare it to the new implementations we deliver? We're not done yet, so lock that in your brain, right? Okay, what are some good areas to measure? Are there any other tips or stats that you can share to help us understand where we stand and where we should be headed? Josh, you got all that?
I think I got most of it, Kat. We'll see what we can do, Jess. We'll see what we can do. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with what should you measure first. I think that's probably a good starting point. So identify your key performance indicators for your app. I think some of the most common that our customers are looking at are query response times, data throughput, data latency, CPU utilization, which is why we have Intel here, memory usage. And so if you're looking at those as far as what are you baselining from, then you want to measure those KPIs for your app under a variety of conditions, right? Such as different workloads, different user loads. And then this gives you a good understanding of how your app performs under normal operating conditions. I think then you need to monitor those KPIs to track your app's performance over time. And this will help you to identify any performance regressions that may occur after you deploy your new code. So what tools would you use to do this? Google Cloud Monitoring is a good place to start. It's a service that provides comprehensive monitoring and alerting on capabilities for Google Cloud resources. So it would take a look at your app's CPU, memory, disk, network resources. A couple of open source tools that might be a good recommendation too. Prometheus is a popular one. It collects and stores metrics from a variety of sources, including your app code, infrastructure, and external sources. And then Grafana would help you to visualize that data. And so these are some good ways to kind of get started on how would you track the performance of your apps. So I think we've also done some work with Intel to optimize how customers can get better performance out of their app workloads, and then also contain costs too. So maybe Cyrus or Cassia could jump in here.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you mentioned that. You mentioned the CPU performance, right? I think back in the day, people were like, the CPU is all the same. But the reality is the workloads have changed over time, to Joss's point. And so because there's so many different types of workloads, right? There are workloads that are kind of lower, what do they call, less demanding, and then there's the high performing ones, right? So AI is a high performing application depending on what you're running, or you have SAP or databases that you may run in there. So there's different levels of application. We announced recently with Google the C3 machines on 4th Gen Xeon, and we found we had some very, very good performance, over 53% performance gen over gen. And those also used our advanced AMX, Advanced Matrix Extension, and those that is a built-in deep learning accelerator. So you're able to have already an accelerator that is built in to accelerate your workloads. And then of course the TCO, right? A lot of people still talk about TCO, even if you're in the cloud, you want to talk about that. And we saw a 75% reduction through the consolidation of servers. So there's some great stuff there between Intel and Google in the cloud, and in those C3 instances, we're really, really excited about it. So yeah, to Josh's point, I mean, you can get the performance you need based on your workload, whether it's less demanding or high performing, and we're going to be there for you.
And just to add to that, and you mentioned the different types of workloads, and so one thing that we've been working with Intel as well as GCP is to help understand what are the best instances for your workload, and that is not the easiest thing to do. You have all kinds of metrics that you look at, and all kinds of how many CPUs, et cetera, you need for your application. Best thing to do is give one of us a call, and we can help you with that, because it is definitely not more of a black art than a science.
Matt knows it all. He's got it all tattooed on his arm. He works with GCP. And...
So we went from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to Harry Potter.
We are just having fun today. We got to make these things funner. Yeah.
So. You're just going totally off the rails.
I'm waiting for Matt to hold up his arm and be like, "Here it is. Here's all."
Yeah, I got it.
Like a quarterback.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, well, that was a big long question. I think we hit all of the answers that they asked for. So if we missed any, send all your complaints to Josh. We're blaming him.
Thanks.
Well, let's go on to this next one here. How do the logs and monitoring capabilities come together so that we can see everything we need? Ooh, I love that. In a way that allows us to respond quickly both before delivery and while in production. What alerting and ticketing integrations are available to help us manage this? What do you think? Maybe Cyrus or Matt, do you guys want to kick us off?
Matt, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, sure thing. Keep it technical. So yes, I mean, all of our products on the F5 side, we collect telemetry and we provide observability tools so that customers can correlate actions and reactions and incidents within our tools. But that's not really our sweet spot for the majority of our products. So what we offer are integrations with third parties. Right, so if you've got a SIEM that you want to work with, a logging ingestion, can't even speak right now, a logging ingester that you want to work with, such as cloud operations in Google Cloud, that's where we would work with your team to figure out the best way to get the data from our systems into yours. But we support many open standards. Open telemetry is one of our cornerstones right now, along with some other well-known integration points. So chances are, if you have a tool in mind, we can provide the integration with that tool. How's that?
Yeah,
that's
from
great.
A Google.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
From a Google perspective, Google Cloud Logging collects logs from a variety of sources. We can take a look at Google Cloud, your applications, your infrastructure. And then, of course, to Matt's point, right, that can be adjusted to a SIM, and logs can be used to troubleshoot and debug problems, as well as tracking your application performance as well, to the earlier question we had. And then also audit your system activity. So, talking about IAM, as far as access controls, things like that. So that's a good place to start from a cloud operations perspective.
Nice. All right. We are getting pretty close to where we're going to have to start to wrap things up, but we are going to fit in a couple more questions here. And the good news is they're all super long and complicated. So there you go. You're welcome. All right. So let's see. The audience is really on it today.
Give him all to Matt. Give him all to Matt. I mean...
Oh, Matt, just consult the tattoos because you're up, buddy. I don't.
Yeah. Right. Give him to the one with the guys with the beards, right? Like, yes. Yeah. That's
Beards denote wisdom. If
yes.
Disney has taught me anything, so
Oh, if only that were true.
yeah.
Now we're moving to Disney.
Well, yes, exactly. We're moving from Warner to Disney,
Yeah.
and I will send this to one of our bearded experts here, Josh. I think this is for you again. What performance tuning recommendations do you have? I like everyone's into the best practices today. This is great. What performance tuning recommendations do you have for our environments that are rich in multiple zones and regions like ours is? Are we able to adjust the performance requirements and auto scaling rules to support different types of workloads across different environments? Josh, use the power of your beard. What do you got for us?
Well, the answer is yes, Jess. There you go.
Perfect.
Okay. So let me try and address it here. Um, for workloads that are sensitive to latency, for instance, right? When you're asking about tuning. So things like e-commerce websites, like we were talking about Shopify earlier, gaming applications, for instance, you may want to set some more stringent performance requirements and auto scaling rules when it comes to high performance apps. So that'll help you ensure that your applications are always responsive and that they can handle sudden spikes in user traffic. For your workloads that are less sensitive to latency, such as batch processing, or data analysis type jobs, you may want to set a less stringent performance requirement. This will help you, save costs and also, reduce on demand. And then, if you think about auto scaling, one of the other things is across your production environment, you want to set more stringent rules than what you may have in your staging environments. So those may be some good practices to get started as you think about your performance requirements.
Perfect. All right, we're getting close to the end of time here, so we're gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna make this a free for all. Whoever wants to answer, it's a good one. Okay, as we reply to business partner requests to demonstrate our security posture, we are also in the process of refreshing our network policies and security rules. Good for you! Way to go! High five. What additional changes should we consider when including F5 in the picture, and how and where can F5 and Google help streamline the policies and rules to reduce complexity and increase control? And there's a follow-up here, and this is something that, Cassia, you were kind of brushing along a bit earlier. Is there anything with shared responsibility that we can leverage here?
Mm-hmm.
Go, team.
Matt, you want to take the first one?
Yeah, sure.
So a lot
Matt. Going on there. Yeah, okay. All right. So it's Matt. Yes. So I think that there is a significant area around shared responsibility, and not to take away Cassia's thunder here, because I'm sure she's going to have a much better explanation than me. But when I heard that question, my implementer's mind immediately went to, okay, well, how would we do this? And it would be a combination of hierarchical rules on the Google side to provide, organization level structure and organizational level policies all the way down to individual applications through Google's mechanisms. And then using that in a combination, as I was saying earlier, with the protections that we can give you at your application layer, right? So it's a model that ties well to taking the best approach from each of the vendors represented here today, and bringing that together in such a way that you have a enforceable, repeatable, sane policy that you can then take forward into production. How much more detail should we get into? How much more time do we have? I feel like I should hand off before.
Yeah. Well, I think
go down the rabbit hole.
I think there's tools, and shared responsibility or shared security model is a framework, right? To make sure that you are securing every aspect of your cloud environment, and you're also taking into account, your hardware, your infrastructure, your endpoints, your data, your configuration, your settings, your operating system. So you're taking in all that account and using that framework for a shared security model, and asking those questions and being prepared to understand the impact as you're going to cloud, and you are what tools are available, to Matt's point, that can help you create that framework and understand how are you protecting every layer of those, right? From edge to cloud, I mean, basically from endpoint to cloud, right? And what does that mean? So I think, understanding what that shared security model looks like is important. And again, going back to, I mentioned it earlier, you are responsible for your data. As a company, you're responsible. And so you need to take the time and understand that model and understand what level of protections are in everything that is, interfacing with the cloud, and what you're putting in, what's coming out, how is all of that protected, and what is that framework that you're, putting together. And there's documentation out there about shared security frameworks and so forth that companies can leverage, and implement their policies and procedures around what that looks like.
Yeah, and Cassie, to pull on that, I think the important thing is Google Cloud works on securing the base platform.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to deployment of your applications, we try and give you the tools to make sure you've got visibility into those workloads and you've got the right tooling to make sure you can deploy your application at scale. But when it comes to how do you secure it, that becomes an important component of how our partnerships really tie in together to make that a seamless framework for you to secure those applications in the cloud.
Agree. And that's why, that going back to the ecosystem point, right? Who you are working with and how they work together really does matter. And I'm like a broken record when I say that, and people kind of look at me like, well, it's not just using who it's using who is prepared to help you on this journey, because it's not getting any easier. It's getting more complex. From a security perspective, there's an estimated 800,000 attacks every year. The threat area is really, really expanded, and you need to take it seriously. And it's one of those things that if you don't, it's very, very costly. And here, what we're trying to do, when talking about security and sharing best practices and tools, is helping the defenders defend. Right. And that's really what we need to be doing, and helping one another, because at the end of the day, leaning into expertise, you look at Google, right? Google's security posture is very, very strong, and, they know a thing or two about security, right? F5 does as well. We do as well. And so leveraging that ecosystem to help you on your journey, I think is, we're offering that. And we hope you take advantage of it. And we're here for our customers and our partners. But again, that relationship between the companies is really important. We're not talking and making this up. 20 years is a long time, right? Mm-hmm. Between companies to integrate and work with each other and share code and optimizations and tools, and from executive on down, there's relationships, and so that really matters, and that's important checklist as you assess your ecosystem, I think.
Just to put a bow on it, I think everything that's been said here today has been great, fantastic, and to end up on talking about security postures and type security, I like to go back to the onion analogy, that good security is like an onion, and each one of us here represents one of the layers of an onion. And talk about another movie, ogres are like onions. And so we each have our own layers. You knew that was coming, right?
Well played.
So get with your partners, get with some of the experts, best practices. We all adhere to that. We have different areas of expertise in our protection. Obviously, Intel and the base layer and the CPU, the SGX, AMX, all of the different security. We support in special instances Intel QAT for encryption. All the tools that Joshua mentioned, as well as the ability for F5 to be deployed anywhere on any platform, gives you guys the best out there posture to protect against the bad actors out there, because they're out there, for sure.
Boy, we have covered some ground in this conversation today. And I feel like out of everything, and all these very fun rabbit holes that we've gone down as we went through this, that power of partnership, and not just things that can be made to work together, but things that really successfully partner from the get-go and have these long-standing relationships. And When Matt and then Cassie, you echoed this, said the defenders in the room here, I instantly had this image of you guys with like capes and the defender and like flowing hair and the whole thing. And I do really feel like there's this our powers combined feel every time we get in a room with you guys, even virtually here, and it really is palpable, that connection and the opportunity that comes out of that connection and that partnership. So I appreciate all of you being here to talk to us about these incredible solutions and opportunities for the audience out there. I know that the audience has really loved it because we've got a lot of questions that we just aren't going to have time to get to, but I do want to remind you all that all the questions will get sent to these teams, so you will get follow-ups, so keep those coming in. And before you guys leave us, I want to ask you, for someone that is looking for that next step, that wants to get started, F5, Google Cloud, Intel, where would you recommend? And maybe we can kind of ask each of you to sort of chime in on that, where they should get started. And Matt, I'll start with you again.
I'd start very simply, f5.com, and start looking through what we offer and how we integrate with Google Cloud. But that's a great place to start.
And I'll add a slash to that to get to the GCP component. So f5.com/GCP. And then you're hitting the partnership stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Same with Intel, but go to F5 and go to GCP, because then they'll call us. And we're always there. We always pick up the phone, So yeah, I think that's a great place to start.
Perfect. Okay. Well, this, as always, has been a ton of fun. I'm going to go pour a glass of wine, have some chocolate, watch some Shrek and Harry Potter now, just to round it out. But I do want to say thanks again to each of you for being here and being part of this conversation. Not only is it fun, it's also very informative and really important points here. So thank you again for all of your expertise, Defender Squad.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jess. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks
everyone for attending today.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know about all of you, but my brain is absolutely still buzzing from that conversation. And before I get to the wine and Shrek part of the afternoon for all of us, we've got one more exciting element to get to today. Boy, I can't even put words together anymore. We just had such a good time, and then my brain is still totally caught up in that conversation. All right, refocusing, bringing it all back together here. Let's do a prize giveaway. Now, before I actually give this prize away, I do want to remind you all about that handouts tab. There's some great resources for you there, including a link to that resource center that we were just talking about, the F5 Google Cloud, really digging into some of the benefits and the uniques. You can explore some case studies, data sheets, use cases. There's just a ton of information there for you on that F5 webpage. So be sure that you're spending some time. Open those links now, save that for later, because as soon as we close out the webinar, that's a great place to go back and spend some time exploring, jog your memory of all the incredible things that we just heard today, and start kind of seeing how some of these solutions might be a good fit for you. So, okay, get the handouts, get that open, get ready, and let's do a prize giveaway. Now, again, $250 Best Buy gift card is going to Jason Andreas from Indiana. Jason Andreas of Indiana, congratulations. We will follow up with you about your $250 Best Buy gift card, so stay tuned for that. I also want to remind all of you that if you asked a question today, even if we didn't get to it live in the session, you are entered to win that Best Question gift card, so stay tuned for that. It is coming at you. We will look over all the incredible questions asked today, and we will pick that best question and follow up. All right. Well, with that, my friends, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to once again thank F5, Intel, and Google Cloud for making this webinar possible, especially to our incredible speakers, Matt, Cassia, Josh, Cyrus. What a great day. You've given us so much to think about, and just had a lot of fun, and that's the best way to jump into this information, to be learning, because sometimes we get so focused on the scary bits or we talked a lot today about the pace of learning and how fast everything goes, and being a lifelong learner and being curious. And I think we all love that. That's why we're here. That's why we want to participate in these conversations. But I think if we're honest, we all also feel a little bit exhausted by that sometimes. And what's so cool about these conversations that we have together is it gives us an opportunity to share and maybe leapfrog over some of the mistakes or some of the things that we don't need to do to learn from anymore. We can learn from other people, learn from each other. instead. And that has been such an exciting part of our day today. And I'm so glad that we could all be a part of that together. So again, big high fives and thank yous to all of you for coming and for participating in this day and making it just such an enjoyable and an engaging experience for all of us. All right, well, I think we're going to have to leave it there, as much as I wish we could just hang out for the rest of the day. But I hope you all had a great time with us. I hope we'll see you at another webinar again soon. And until then, have an absolutely beautiful end to your day.